All right. Let's see. On air, why not? Boom. We're here. Awesome. Okay, another Q&A. I tried something new this time. I hope it works. I took some questions on Instagram. I did a story and had people submit questions, so I'll try this another time, and if you guys want to submit questions, let's try it there. But if you have any at the last minute, put them down in the chat, because maybe I'll get to some extras. Anyway, I put up a story, asked for questions, got a few good ones, so we're going to dig straight into those, and then I'll show you this bad boy, and we'll move on. Short and sweet, easy breezy. Now, a few of these actually go pretty well together, so there may be kind of an overall discussion that we get into today. But let's see where it takes us, okay? So, boom. First question here was, where do I see these? Aha, there we go. How much merit do you place on brands who create complications at lower price points? This is kind of a good question that could go in a couple different ways. I really like the idea of a great watch at a low price point. I mean, one of the things that I hate about this industry and what I do is that things are so expensive. I wish that these were more accessible. I wish that I could, I have like a lot of friends that are not that into what, they're like not watch crazy people. They just like watches. And so they'd love to come to me and be able to buy a watch, but they're not going to buy a $100,000 watch. Like, it's totally bananas, obviously, what all this stuff costs. So I do wish there were things that could be bought for, fairly reasonable amounts of money. And I'm trying to have more of that in stock at various times. You guys have seen the Habring that I have, and the HYT and the Nomos, and things. They're under 20 grand, some under 10 grand, but it's still really hard to get to the 1 or 2 or 3 or 5,000 and have anything good. So what do I think about complications in that range? Well, it depends how they're done. I mean, just to make something and make it cheap is not that interesting. I hope that that was one of the points that was clear from that kind of Chinese Richard Mille knockoff that I put up. It's fine. It's a tourbillon. It's a skeleton tourbillon. Just the fact that it can be done doesn't necessarily make something interesting. However, if things could be done in a way that is interesting at a low price point, then I'm all for it. But those are kind of few and far between. So I can't think of a great example of one at the moment, but I'm sure they exist. Question here, did I see the new Urwerk Aggregate back to black? And what were my thoughts on that? So I thought we'd look at it. Let's see. Where am I here? Aha, boom. So this thing is sick, really sick. So Urwerk, I'm on Urwerk's press list, and I get things a couple days early, and I saw it in my email, and I guess I never paid that much attention to a 112. I haven't owned a 112 yet, but this thing really caught my eye. And sometimes, we all knock a change of a color, especially I think the kind of meme of it is with Rolex, like, the most exciting new models for Basel, and it'll be just like a new color dial or something like that, which is in some ways a little bit lame, but sometimes really make a big difference. And to me, on the 112, this black really made a big difference. This is an incredible look. I mean, look how cool that is. So yeah, I think this is one of the better Urwerk releases. It really seems to suit itself to the 112, this color. Also of note, I don't know how many of you have seen this new Urwerk black kind of Velcro rubber strap. The strap's incredible. It's really expensive, which kind of sucks. I think it's like maybe a $1,200 strap, which is, ridiculous. But it's really, really nice quality. It feels nice and it looks great. But in this piece, it looks like extra mind-blowingly good. It almost like this watch was like designed finally for this strap. So it all really kind of suits itself and finishes out what looks to be a really cool piece. So hopefully I'll have one in stock at some point. Obviously I'll do a review on it if I can. I'd love to see it on the wrist. For now, I'm just like the rest of you guys looking at pictures, but man, these pictures look pretty dope to me. Okay, next, somebody asked me about a Theo Offray piece. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. A French name, Theo Offray, A-U-F-F-R-E-T, and asked about the upcoming Argon Space One. I guess that's the model. And man, I looked for information. I was gonna do the same thing. I finally set it up so that I can pull up the computer and like look at stuff with you guys and talk it out. And I can't find anything on this watch. So I'm sure it's cool if somebody's asking me about it. And I have seen a little bit of Theo Offray's stuff come up and have looked, and his stuff looks cool. But overall, I do get questions about these up and coming guys sometimes. And my kind of overall feeling and thought is that I don't tend to take a lot of note until either the guys have been around for a really long time, maybe like a Beat Haldeman would be that kind of a person. But more generally, once they've really established that they can create a brand. Because it's one thing to make one cool watch, basically, or even a couple cool watches that you're producing a couple of. But to be able to actually make a brand and consistently produce output, multiples of one model, multiple models, you know, do it and really make a brand name and really have collectors. And, you know, so that's what you see kind of Krivia and Reshep have maybe just crossed over to that. And obviously you've got Kari and Roger Smith, and these guys have turned this sort of little thing into more of a brand. That's kind of when I take a little bit more note personally, once it really gets to that point. So I'm sure this is a cool watch. I wish I could find more info if I can. And if you want to send me some, I'll try to address it on another one. I literally, not a single search comes up for it. And I even went onto the guy's Instagram page and I don't see the model that you're speaking of. But overall, you know, little guys make really cool watches, and I've owned some of these really cool kind of one-off type of things. And they're always exciting when they do come around, but they come around so rarely, and they just, they don't really have enough weight to catch a lot of my attention. So that's sort of my overall viewpoint on these little guys. Somebody says something with the mic. Is the sound no good? Are you not getting sound? Tell me a little bit more. What's happening here? It looks okay on my end, so if there's a problem, please tell me so I don't waste a bunch of my time. Okay, next. Okay, so these are a few that are kind of together. Oh, it just got a lot quieter. Let's see. See if this is any better. Very muffled. Shit. Very muffled. Huh. Okay. I don't know how to necessarily debug that because I don't have a monitor. So tell me, does this help? Is this better? Turning some things up a little bit. Had to turn the speakers all the way. Oh, helped a ton. Okay, cool. All right, thanks guys. Sorry about that. This person asks, I'm looking at consolidating my collection. A friend says I should look into Grubel. So I'm just gonna answer this in general. I made a video a couple of years ago. I think it's entitled like quality over quantity. And I'm always for consolidating. So if somebody even has the idea that maybe they should be consolidating, then I think it's the right idea, because ultimately we only have one wrist and there's only so many types of different occasions you want to wear stuff for. So why not just wear the best watches that you can? And I kind of tend to like either the really, really, really good stuff, kind of the best that I can have, or the sort of more like knock around. I don't baby it so much. Now for me, that wherever those ranges are for you differ, but I like that stuff more than having several of these kind of in the middle type of things. And it doesn't necessarily have to do with price, you know, like Urwerk's actually a great example where you can get like a really amazing Urwerk for obviously a lot less than like a Grubel 4C. And I could see somebody being more into the Urwerk than the Grubel 4C, and that being a perfectly great, like, you know, really amazing sort of grail watch for them. So it's not necessarily price dependent, but I'd rather have like the stuff that like really super turns me on, and then the stuff that's a little bit more of sort of everyday, you know, utilitarian watches, then several of the things in the middle that are just kind of like, oh, this is a nice watch and I know it to be a nice watch and I like to strap on a nice watch every day. And, you know, but maybe it's different. Maybe you have a job. Obviously, I don't go into an office every day. I don't meet with, you know, I'm not doing something else where I'm meeting with customers and necessarily need to like project some vibe or not project some vibe or whatever. So everybody has their own needs, but for me, I'd rather have, you know, 1 or 2 or 3 really great watches, and I'm happy to trade in 5 or 7 or however many medium types of things to get there if that's what I need to do to get there. It's always best to have the best stuff that you can have. Grubel obviously is a great brand for that because they're really expensive, so most people do need to kind of consolidate to get there. And a lot of the Grubel deals that I do are actually like that, you know, taking a few trades in a 3-for-1 or something like that in order to get there. So that leads into the next question, which is what are you buying? Well, I'm buying whatever I can that's good and is priced fairly. So you guys know what I like. I've liked the same things for a really long time. And part of the reason to make this channel is to explain what I like and why I like it. But obviously in the last few years, prices have kind of gone crazy. So I just don't like selling things at inflated prices. It also is just more risk to hold on to inventory. And now everything's adjusting some. So some things have fallen, some things are holding, some things have plummeted, some things just haven't really traded again. So it's not clear, you know, where they are basically. And so I'm trying to navigate that just like the rest of you guys. And a couple areas that I've found to be a bit more solid, you know, where I can get a good handhold on have been Urwerk and Grubel 4C. I think are two brands. Urwerk to me is the most underrated, undervalued, underappreciated brand, just for how cool the watches are and how historically important they are. But they're obviously just kind of crazy watches. So they're never going to be for everybody. They're never going to have mass appeal. And I understand that. And so I think they may always be a little bit slept on. Whereas Grubel 4C, they're round watches ostensibly, and they could have real mass appeal, and their pricing really didn't move with everything else. So they introduced the sport models and the GMT Sport. They're selling for $500,000 or $600,000, and they're getting all the money. So people are dropping the big money on the Grubels now, and I think it's just a matter of time before this other stuff catches up. Or at the very least, I think it's made them really solid where they are in pricing, which may as well be a good time to show you guys this. Bam! This just came in today and is sick. This is the Valencia S2, and it's honestly better than I expected it to be. I've had a couple of the Valencia S's. I think having the clean bezel makes a big difference to me. The strap also is really nice, and I really like this silver color. It's like with the gray band, it's super stealthy. This mirror polished. I don't know if you can see this. Let me see if I can show you this in macro, but this is like, look at the, I think the Rolex guys call this a rehaut, or this piece that goes from the main plate up to the dial marker. And look where it's really thick at like the case edges. It's mirror polished and it's bananas. Like you can see the reflection of everything through there, and it gives, in person, it really gives a tremendous amount of character to the watch. So this just came in. If you've been looking for one, this is gonna be a big, your big opportunity. I'm gonna have it priced really, really competitively. So yeah, please email me if it's something that you want. It'll probably be up on my website next week, but I'll give you guys a few days to jumpstart it if it's something that you're looking for. So yeah, I like Grubel and Urwerk for those reasons. I can think with the pricing of them and they make sense to me. De Bethune took a big run up and now is coming back some. And so as much as I love them, it's a little bit harder to buy because it's not clear exactly where the price level is when there's that much volatility. So yeah, right now I like the areas where there's a lot less volatility and I can just figure it out and make my plays to buy nice watches and present them to you guys at what I think are fair prices. Okay, bam. I think that's the most interesting ones that were there. Let me see if anything came in here. Yeah, I'm glad the audio went better. Yeah, please, guys, in all these live things, tell me if something like that gets screwed up. I have, my equipment here that I set up myself, so in theory I should know how to fix things, but I'm not sure that I'll always be able to do it on the fly. But it is a little bit more of a complex setup. I'm trying to up my production values for you guys, make some good stuff here. So if there is a problem, I need to know about it. I like this idea of being live, but that's the one downside is if something's screwed up, we're in big trouble. Somebody asked about Langenhain. I'm not that familiar with their watches. I've owned one and I've seen a couple and they seem to be really cool. There isn't a particular watch of theirs that super grabs me design-wise. They're a little bit too maybe fanciful. I don't know the exact word, but I don't know. The movements are beautiful, but there's not one overall that I'm like, boom, that's my watch. I know that the founder left the brand, and so that's always a bit concerning for me. But I'm not deep into it. I'm not an expert on it, so I don't even know what went on there or what their current scene is. But those are kind of my overall thoughts. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna keep this short and sweet this time. Those are the best questions that I got. They came in fast and furious. Please, I think this is a good way of doing it, at least getting a few questions on the books from Instagram, and then other people can chime on here, but that gives me somewhere to start. And it's cool to be able to show you guys the incoming pieces of the day to, that's the most fun thing. I love being able to just show off good watches. So this is a good format to be able to do that. Thank you so much for coming to this live stream. Thank you for putting the questions on Instagram. Thank you guys for following. Please share this with any of your watch friends that you think might enjoy my content. Subscribe and do all those things, like it, do all the stuff I'm supposed to say. But really, I really appreciate all the support, and it helps me keep motivated to bringing you guys fun content. So that's it for today.